Native American legend has it that when you see the thunderstorms come rolling in, you see the lightning striking, and you hear the roaring thunder echoing through the mountains. The spirit of the Thunderbirds are in the clouds, patrolling their domain. Now, there are over 574 recognized tribes across the U.S. Here's a map of the tribes. And they all seem to find markings like this throughout the country, in rocks, carvings, all across the country of a Thunderbird. So this is nothing new to them. They believed in these for hundreds of years, if not thousands. Their stories. And this is how they passed it on. Now they revered and respected this great spirit, they call it, the Thunderbird. And they had all kinds of traditions, all kinds of stories passed down generation after generation. But we don't really know if it was a physical being, an animal, or just spirit. They believed that the Great Spirit was a good spirit saving mankind from the horned serpent on earth. The Native Americans believe that these Thunderbirds, lightning comes from their beak and thunder comes from the flapping of their wings. Now, all these Native Americans have this in their history, and they believe in it in one way or another, but they may differ a little bit in the way they believe. The Cherokee believe that it's a good omen for them to see a Thunderbird before they have a land battle. That's guarantee them victory. And you can see how the Northwest here, they celebrated their belief in the Thunderbirds. Totem poles, different designs. And the Cherokee, they would have a powwows and celebration with the Thunderbirds involved in it every year. These great people celebrated this great spirit, and all the other Native American tribes did too. Now this bird, like this size that they claim, the Thunderbird, it did exist at one time. They found it in the fossil records 5 million years ago. And there's a cryptid. And what a cryptid is, it's an animal they believe exists out there. They just can't prove that it exists. They have no physical evidence. And here's some newspaper reports of finding these giant birds, fossils and manx, throughout the country. So this did exist at one time, but does it still exist today? And here's what some of the, just a diagram of how big this bird was, they claimed in the stories. Had a 20 foot to 24 foot wingspan. That's one big bird. Now, Heather even old pictures of people claimed to have shot and killed. This is an old tombstone picture in the late 1800s. But there's so many pictures out there on the internet, you don't know what's real and what's not. Where did the evidence go? You never could figure that out. And here's some newspaper articles of just stuff of over the years. Here's some big bird snatching pigs in West Virginia. All kinds of weird stuff out there. But there's all kinds of evidence. I've even read reports of where back during World War II in the South Pacific and stuff, that pilots was seeing large birds here and there on their patrols on these islands. They've said they've seen birds that's above 10,000 feet with look like 20-foot wingspan flying above the clouds. That's amazing. But there's so many records and reports that you don't know what is what and what it is and what it ain't. But a lot of people claim to have seen stuff like this. I can remember a story of a good friend of mine. He growed up in Bell County, Kentucky, there at Straight Creek along Pine Mountain. And he said they was playing school one day, and they looked up there on the ridge, there on the rocks, and there was a big old bird landing. Big old bird. Couldn't tell what it was, but it looked like it had a 10 or 12, 15-foot wingspan, just watching the kids play. And it finally just took back off, and they was amazed how big it was. They don't know what it was, he said. So there is records and all kinds of reports of people seeing this thing. And right here's a report of somebody in Lonsdale, Illinois in 1977 of a child trying to be carried off. A mother heard an awful commotion, went outside, and her child has been carried off 40 feet in the air. A bird had taken a child off, and she went out there and wrestled and grabbed him and finally pulled him down. And he weighed around 50 to 70 pounds, it said. So there's all kinds of reports of this. This is an actual real report. Here's the article. That's an amazing story right there. Now, I've seen birds, and some big birds, but not close enough to really determine just how big they really was. They look big at a distance. So, are they real or are they not? There's got to be some truth or they wouldn't be a legend. You know, man thinks he knows and got everything on this planet figured out. But I don't think he does. He's just fooling himself. There's things in nature that's still yet to be explained. So the next time you see a storm brewing, rising, and you see the lightning, hear the thunder, look around and see if you see some big bird off in the distance. You never know what's in these storms. So I hope you enjoyed this little story, The Unexplained. I want to thank you for watching. God bless, friends, and I'll see you next time.